Well, investors have been watching all these developments very closely, as indeed our business editor, Kate Moody, has as well. Kate, how are the markets reacting to this uncertainty and this lack of a clear winner?
Well, surprisingly well, Tom, but it might not be the case if we do see a really contested dispute that drags on for several weeks. Now, U.S. stocks did come under a bit of pressure overnight in futures trading, but they jumped shortly after the opening bell this Wednesday. You can see the Dow Jones Industrial Average up over 700 points there. The Nasdaq up over 4% this hour. The S&P 500 nearly 3%. The tech rally on the Nasdaq is being driven in part by Uber and Lyft. Their shares have jumped over 10% as voters in California said that they wouldn't have to consider their drivers as employees. Earlier, we saw the major European indices starting their session in the red, but climbing to close higher, up 1.6% in London, 2.5% for the CAC 40 here in Paris, nearly 2% in Frankfurt. So investors seeming to hold out hope for some sort of a clear outcome one way or the other.
Okay. And of course, in the longer term, whoever is elected faces the uphill battle of rebuilding the labour market, which has been left really in tatters, hasn't it, by the COVID-19 pandemic?
Earlier this year, Tom, 50 million Americans lost their jobs as that pandemic shut down businesses across the country in the spring. Now, many of them have since been rehired in an initial boost for the labor market. But at the beginning of October, nearly 23 million people were still claiming unemployment benefits. To compare it to October of 2019, when just 1.3 million were claiming that. So a huge difference there. A new report being released today suggests that the private sector added only 365,000 jobs last month. It's around half of what most economists had predicted. It's the lowest rate of pickups since July. The overall unemployment rate does stand at around 7.9%. Those are the figures from September. We'll be getting the October data just this Friday to get a better picture of what's going on now. But economists warning that the rehiring process could slow down as the number of coronavirus infections picks up again, and they say that millions of people could remain out of work for the medium to long term, and it means it's going to be one of the dominant themes for whichever administration does emerge.
Yeah, whoever wins has a lot to do. They've also got to tackle America's mounting public debt.
Yeah, and this is true of governments around the world as they blow through their budgets to try to support the economy during the pandemic. In the United States, the budget deficit is expected to triple to $3.3 trillion, or 16% of GDP. And as you can see there, the mountain of government debt will be surpassing the size of the American economy. This is according to the Congressional Budget Office. It's a nonpartisan institute that runs these numbers for the government. It would be the highest level in history, except for just after the World War. So longer term challenges, as well as the more immediate problems, of course, of trying to pass another stimulus bill.
Yeah, so clearly a huge amount will be in the in tray of the next administration, especially on that economic front, as you mentioned. Kate Moody, thank you very much indeed. Well, the rest